You're listening to 98.1 FM and 1220 AM KHTS. My name is Rick Garcia. Welcome to a special NFL takeover of the KHTS studios. We are honored to have as our guest Trenton Irwin. It is that time of year when we want to talk about the football camp that's coming to Santa Clarita. And Trenton, of course, an NFL football player, came out of Hart High School, went to Stanford. Was an undrafted free agent by the Miami Dolphins, later picked up by Cincinnati, where you had a very nice career at Cincinnati. Last season, you wound up catching on with the Carolina Panthers, and now we're in free agency. But welcome to KHTS again. It's been great having you here the last couple of years.
Great to be here. Great to be here. You know, you're talking about my kids' camp for the most part. And, you know, great to just experience this thing.
These football camps are awesome. I mean, you know, they leave such an impression on young kids. First of all, tell us when, where your camp is, and what are the age groups for these kids?
Yeah, so March 8th at Hart High School. It's going to be 10 to 1, and it's 5th to 8th grade. And we're a little lenient on both sides. You know, probably not too many high schoolers, but if younger ones want to come, more than welcome. Also, emphasis this year, boys and girls. So it's not just a boys football camp, you know, the girls can come along too. My little sister, who is in the 8th grade, will also be there.
Which is awesome. And by the way, it's important to point out because flag football for girls is exploding.
Taking off.
It's getting huge. So these football camps are going to be co-ed. Are they going to practice separately, or will they be practicing together in case?
They'll probably practice together. If we have enough, we'll go more separate and let them do their thing. But they'll probably practice together.
I found out with my own kids who were soccer players, at that age, they're equals.
They really are. I mean, the girls can be much taller. You know, like a little 8th grade boy can be like 5 foot nothing, while the girls 5'7".
Then something happens around age 12, right?
Yes,
13, I think.
Then
it's more
it
like
starts
13.
changing 100%.
It changes quite a bit after that. So this is a camp that, what will they learn at this camp?
What will they learn? So we have some NFL coaches, teammates of mine, that will be there just trying to create just a great atmosphere. You know, that's what I always tell my coaches. It's like, just bring the energy that you bring on a day-to-day basis out there playing football and just loving the game, you know. So hopefully they learn to love the game, to run around, have some fun with the dudes, compete, learn some life lessons, you know, losses, wins, you know, you got to be able to handle both of them. And, you know, in the end of the day, we're just out there in the sun running around like we did. You know, little dudes. I always love that with kids. Is they're just curious. They're running, curious. Doesn't matter what they're doing, but they're having a ball.
Will you do some specific drills?
We will definitely do specific drills. So we'll start off with like a agility feel, and then we'll break into offense and then defense. I don't like to just go offense, defense, because sometimes you get everyone on offense and no one on defense, or vice versa. Usually it's offense, though.
It's like trying to find a catcher in baseball.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to pitch.
Right.
Everybody wants to be a striker or forward in soccer. Nobody wants to be the keeper. You know, so poor defense.
Important. Yeah. You know, it's the other half of the game. But, you know, we'll do all that. So we'll do the speed drills, the offense, defense, and then we'll break it down into, like, fields and do, like, a little 7-on-7, but we'll probably have more kids than 7-on-7, so that they're just all out there having fun playing. And usually I like to assign a coach in a certain area, so maybe he's all-time quarterback if they don't want one, or if he's making sure he's hyping up his team and, you know, just having fun with them.
Yeah. So we'll get more into the camp in a moment. We want to talk about you. We're talking to Trenton Irwin, NFL player, who's also was a Hart High School football star. Also played at Stanford. All right, where are you at this moment? You're a free agent.
Yep.
You were a free agent when you started your career, basically, right? As an undrafted player.
100%.
Let's go back in time a little bit. You weren't expected to be drafted, I don't believe, right? Or was there talk that maybe you would be?
So there was rumor. I actually ended up tearing my MCL coming out of college. So I was still in a knee brace, didn't do any of the pro day, NFL combine stuff. So that definitely hurt my, you know, you're injured there. It's a little bit like we don't know how he's going to come back from it. So, you know, there's always talk, you know, 5th through 7th round type of talk. And, you know, I'm excited sitting there on draft day. Ends up actually draft day, you get phone calls while the 5th and 7th round is actually still going on. So you're like, oh, maybe this is it. And then they call and be like, hey, we're not going to draft because we don't have anything left, but we'll thinking about an undrafted free agent situation. So that was a different one, but
Well, that's nerve-wracking.
It's definitely so.
Because so the draft will be here before we know it. I think at end of this month or beginning of April. I think.
Yeah, I think it's coming up.
And there you are. You're literally by the phone, right?
100%.
Yeah.
I'm shooting hoops with the family by the phone, and you're thinking maybe, and it's not like anyone's been like, yeah, we're gonna, but like my agent's like, yeah, 5th through 7th, maybe undrafted sort of feel.
Yeah.
So that whole process definitely is nerve-wracking. And then you start getting calls. I didn't really get a heads up on that. I could have asked more questions, but I was like, dang, I got Tennessee, Cincinnati, and Miami. Those were the 3 ones that offered me undrafted free agent opportunities.
So the draft happens. It's 7 rounds. It takes place over 3 days. It's turned into this incredible television event on ESPN and the NFL Network. The time passes for you. You don't get drafted, but you have 3 teams that want to sign you as an unrestricted free agent. So what happens after the draft, for our listeners who don't know, is there's a large pool of players who did not get drafted, and they're basically fair game. Every team can go after any one of those guys. 100%. So there you are sitting there. 3 teams are like, would you like to join our team, with an opportunity to make the team? Yep. And I think maybe tell me how many players at that point are 90 players, I think, right?
Yeah, 90 on the.
So you're going to join a team of 90 players. They're going to have to cut it in half,
right,
by the time the season starts. So there you are. You make a decision and you go with the Miami Dolphins. Why?
100%. So also on a little thing there, you actually have to decide, like, almost before the draft's over, because it's like a we want you, but like if you're not gonna make a decision, we're gonna let someone else.
So you could still get drafted feasibly.
It feels like you could, but like boom, draft's over. They want that call back now. So like you don't have a day. But boom, I'm into Miami. I ended up choosing Miami. It was humid as ever. Did not know that factor. I mean, people always talking about Miami Heat.
It is very.
I got
humid,
a
yes.
very close-up experience of that.
Yeah.
But I went out there, undrafted free agent. There's probably, you're with your rookie class, which is probably about 25 people. So maybe 8 to 10 are drafted, and the other 17 are, undrafted free agents. They're trying to, stick on somewhere. It was humbling. It was humbling. You're sort of curious. Do I fit? Do I not fit? You're trying to figure that whole thing out. You're going against guys that, you've watched when you were in high school, college. You're like, this guy's an all-pro, So that's a cool experience to be able to go out there and compete with them. And, I think I'm a big, I believe that you learn a ton from your losses. And I believe that me and myself, I learned a ton from being cut there. Mm-hmm. I'd never been cut in my life in any sport. People always like, oh, he's the best at what he does there. He's, worked so hard to be good at this. Being cut's a different feel, because you sort of got to be like, dang.
Yeah.
Like, we got to change something. We got to learn from something. We got to be able to grow and adapt, or you get left behind. And that's the game I know.
It's a rude awakening, right? Yeah.
Definitely so.
It just goes to show you how nearly impossible it is to become a professional football player.
It is. And they say the average career, even when you get there, is 3 to 4 years. Yeah. So yeah, it is a blessing in a lot of ways.
So many really good guys who are never cut from their high school, junior high, college teams, don't even get there.
Not even. Yeah. It's the craziest thing.
So there you are. You get cut, and we're talking to Trenton Irwin on KHTS 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. And Trenton's going to talk more about his football camp that he has coming to Santa Clarita this weekend on Saturday, and we'll give you information on how you can sign up for that. It's for both boys and girls, so before you click off the radio because you have 3 daughters, they can participate in this camp. And with flag football as popular as it is, you'll want to listen and find out how they can participate. So you get cut from the Miami Dolphins as a undrafted free agent, and then what are you thinking at that point?
I actually came home for about a month. Home here,
Santa Clarita. Okay.
Home here, yeah. Came home for about a month. Started training at the Santa Clarita Soccer Center with a guy named Cletus Gordon, who was one of my mentors. He's no longer in this city. I think he's in the Philippines now. But he was like a speed coach. Trying to figure out what the heck my next step was and when my next opportunity was coming, because it's not like, hey, we'll call you in a bit. You're not getting a lot of calls. My agent's trying to reach out but not seem desperate. So there's that sort of game of an agent there. And ends up week 5 of 2019, Cincinnati called because they had some injuries. So they flew me out to Cincinnati that day. Like, I literally had a workout at 10 o'clock here. They flew me out. I got in, and then the next morning I had a workout with 3 receivers. So it was me and 2 others. Mm-hmm. And one of us was staying. We all knew that. Like, it was like they needed one, but they didn't have anyone tallied up for that next spot. So one of us was staying for practice squad. I did the workout there. We all finished up. I got a call 2 minutes after the workout from my agent saying I was staying. We had practice an hour later, so I ran out to practice. And then I was there for 6 years.
Oh, so it was an audition.
It really was.
Right? You were doing an audition. You're there for 6 years. Next thing you know, you're catching the ball from Joe Burrows.
Yeah.
Or is it Burrow?
Burrow.
Well, everybody always writes Burrows, but Burrow. It's Burrow,
Yes.
but we say Burrows.
100%.
But I'll call him Burrow from now on, I promise, just in case he's listening. There you are, catching balls from Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins are your teammates along the way. The team is in the Super Bowl. I mean, life is the complete opposite of what you thought it was when you got cut and you thought, maybe I'm not going to be a football player.
Yeah. No, it was a heck of a run. You know, I was on practice squad there. Then I was active roster, catching some punt returns. I had a run with Joe where, like, I felt like I was his guy. And then it was like, oh, maybe bringing someone else in to get your spot. And it was like, what? And so it was like, you know, it was a bunch of ups and downs. Ended up getting cut to end this year with the last 4 or 5 weeks, which, you know, I mean, I've been cut once in Miami. I'd already been cut there because practice squad, they got to re-sign. They got to cut you and re-sign. So you sit down and they're like, hey, we want to talk to you. You get that dreaded text or that dreaded call. You're like, oh, nice. Boy. So I've probably been cut 3-4 times.
Go through the dreaded call, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, every time the phone beeps or, you know, you get an alert, we're all dreading something at some point, whether it's the boss or whether it's, you know, our partners who, you know, need us to pick something up on the way home.
Yeah.
In your case, though, is it the GM in this case, or is it position coach or the head coach that sends the text?
So you usually get the text. Well, in Miami, there was a guy they always called the Grim Reaper. Like, he was the guy who would just sort of tap you on the shoulder and be like, hey, coach wants to talk. You always see him walking around. You'd be like, oh, buddy, he's out. So there was a guy that was the guy to tap on the shoulder. In Cincinnati, it was usually the head coach.
Because you've been there long enough.
Because exactly. I had his number all down and everything, and, you know, it was a relationship there. So it was usually the head coach.
And you get the text?
You get the text. I got the text one time when I thought I was in the clear. Go to the freaking lift because we had a lift that morning, but that was about it. And then I got the text during the lift, and I was like, and it's just, you know, come see me. Like, it's not, you know, they don't explain a whole lot there, but it's not like, you know, we have a lollipop for you. It's great. You know, it's like,
oh, boy.
Oh, shoot.
But the heart sinks into the
heart
stomach.
sinks. You're like, oh, I know what this probably is.
Oh, boy.
And then you got to go up there, and they explain why they made the decision they made. And, you know, it's a whole process. And I know coaches probably hate that day, too, because it's like you got to cut a lot of people that you might have built relationships with. And so it's a tough day for them, too. But, you know, being cut 3-4 times is an eye-opening experience.
Do you hear from teammates at that point? Do you how do they find out when something like that happens? Did you hear from anybody?
So definitely depending on the timing. I don't know how they decide what timing exactly. I know that, you know, after preseason they make a lot of cuts. This year they made it was a random cut in the middle of the year. That was different. Mm-hmm. You know, the teammates, my receiver room knew because I wasn't in the room.
Yeah. But
no one else knew because they were all doing their thing, all doing meetings. So it was sort of like you got the call, you clean out the locker, and, you don't know if you see them again. So it's, you know, Wedding Crashers, I always joke, they have that scene where, like, they lost a lot of good men out there, is what he said in the show, and she was, like, playing for the Yankees. And I always joke that, like, I lose a lot of, you know, you're like, people get cut, and you're like, dang, I might not see him again. Like, that was my boy.
Oh, my gosh. We're talking to Trenton Irwin, NFL player who will be hosting a football camp this weekend in Santa Clarita at Hart High School, his alma mater. It's this Saturday, March 8th from 10 to 1 p.m., primarily for 5th and 8th grade boys and girls. How do they sign up for this?
Yes,
Trenton?
so TrentonIrwin.org.
TrentonIrwin.org, and that's a way to find out how to join the camp. There's a fee involved?
There's a $20 fee just for we've had years when, we've had sign-ups get maxed out and then didn't give the opportunity for other people to sign up when, it was free. Some people didn't show up. So then I was 100 people there instead of 250. So it's all proceeds go to the Eaton Fire victims. So, we're not making anything from it. We're going to have posters. We're going to have shirts. We're going to have bars, drinks, burritos. We're actually going to bring a food truck just for, if parents wanted to buy whatever. And then we got some knickknacks from Carolina and from the Bengals. So we'll have some random stuff there. We should have 10 to 15 NFL players, coaches, coaching the kids.
Okay. Who are some of the guys that'll be out there coaching?
Yeah, so we got Nick Scott, who actually ended up in Carolina with me at the end.
There are two Nick Scotts that I remember from the NFL. One played for the Rams. One did not.
Rams.
This is
Rams.
the Nick Scott
Yep,
that played
for the Rams.
Defensive back.
Yes,
right? Okay.
100%. 100%. He was with me in Cincinnati and actually got to link up back with him in Carolina then this year. Mm-hmm. I got Stanley Morgan, who's a receiver, played at the Bengals with me. Who else we got? We got Winston Rose played us in the Bengals. Tim White is actually coming. He was at Baltimore a little bit, but he played with me at Hart High School. He's in the CFL, and he's actually led the CFL, I think, in receiving yards for the last 2-3 years. Mm-hmm. Let's see who else we got. Might have David Long. He's been saying that. Cameron Scarlett was a fellow. All
right, but
Stanford.
So you have some people know what they're talking
yeah,
about, right?
Yeah,
which is great. So we left off with getting the dreaded text from your coach over at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And there you are. You're a free agent again. And the way it works is when players get cut during the season, there are lots of teams who are hungry to replace injured players
100%.
or trying to find somebody. So what happens next?
So a week or two goes by. Ended up going to Carolina. And my receiver coach at Stanford in college was the offensive coordinator at Carolina. So he got me in there. Didn't end up actually getting elevated for the last 4 weeks of the season. Mm-hmm. They were just doing what they were doing. Mm-hmm. No one really got hurt there. Yeah. But, that's a situation with a lot of opportunity in my mind. As
a practice squad player, though, you're at every practice.
Yeah.
You're at the games. You just don't suit up, right?
Which is a tease, but yeah.
Yeah. And then it's practice squad players and I think like 5 other active roster players that don't suit up.
100%. There's 46.
What do you guys do during the game when that happens?
Just sit there. If it's cold, man, we try to find the heaters. But because some of those games it's 30 degrees, you're not running around, you're cold as heck. But no, I was the big step for me was I only had 4 weeks left. If I were to get a chance, I got to learn their whole playbook in 4 weeks. So
how hard is that?
That's tough. Yeah. That's tough. I mean, I was religiously studying, trying to understand the terminology. Most of it's similar, but it's like different. Like it's different terminology. So you got to understand how a formation is different, and I had to know every position. So I had to know the inside F and then X and Z as well.
Yeah. So many of us. I mean, I played. I'm like the Al Bundy of my class. Played high school football, and everybody knows what a post is.
Right.
But on a given NFL team, as I've heard it described, it's like going from Spanish to Chinese, right?
It's a different beast, and I hadn't actually had to learn an offense again because I've been in Cincinnati with the same coaches for the last 6 years. So learning it again was something else, and then you're going through the playbook, and it feels like going through the dictionary. Like you don't even know which words or whatever they're going to use.
Give us a play. Give us an example of any play that comes to your mind.
Yeah,
because they're long. The purpose of the play, as a quarterback will give the play in the huddle, is, okay, when linemen hear something, they perk up because that's instructions for them. For the wide receivers, it has meaning for them. The running back, it has meaning for them. Is there a play that you can remember that you could tell us that might?
I mean, dice right, 200 jet, wide dragon lion. That would be a simple one. That's a simple one.
Say that one more time slowly.
Dice right, 200 jet, wide dragon lion. So the first part is just the formation, dice. A lot of times they have a whole D series where it's dice, deuce, any freaking D word they can find. I swear, it's they just Delphi. Like, it's like they'll just find a word, and then certain letters will mean different things. So anything DI would mean the slot is in the inside. The F is inside. Mm-hmm. So that was dice. And then the next part, 200 jet, will be the protection. That's the line. They're going, okay, we're going to go out to this. They'll go that was a pass play, just a simple slant flat, and usually they'll have an alert after that.
And so for fans, if they're that are watching the games, whether you're in person or at home, so you've got a play being relayed from coach through the headsets to the quarterback. Mm-hmm. Quarterback repeats it in the huddle, and the play clock is how long again?
25.
It's 25 seconds. So 25 seconds. Coach has to get it to player or to quarterback. Quarterback has to get it to team. Has anybody ever said, "Hey, wait, Joe, could you repeat that one time for me?" or is that not in your best interest?
I mean, you can't use that a lot. You gotta use that sparingly. Usually it's who's running out with you to your side. Be like, wait, what was it? There's certain words that we want to hear. 200 jet doesn't mean much to me.
And there you are complaining about how hard it is. But the quarterback, and everybody wonders why they make so much money and why they're the first guy at the facility, last guy to leave.
Yeah.
Is because then when they get to the line of scrimmage and they see what the defense looks like, then they can make changes at the line of scrimmage.
100%. And a lot of times you go to line of scrimmage with two plays. So, like, that might be the first play. You might have it canned to a different one. Even at times, they'll have it can't, alert to a third play. And then there's always, we have, a number system. So we have 1 through 21 where it's any of those plays can go. He can go dice and 1 at any moment, and it's a certain play. Yeah. So, it's one of those things that the quarterback has to be able to get to a play based off the coverage, and the whole team has to be on the same page, or else, one little piece is off, then it doesn't work because you got some freaks out there.
So what I'm going to do is we're going to take a break. Yep. We're talking to Trenton Irwin, NFL player, Hart High School star, who is hosting a football camp this weekend at Hart High School. We want to tell you more about that when we come back. But I also, as we talked about, going through plays, and then you get to the line of scrimmage, and then quarterbacks have to audible. And I want to talk about when the play gets changed sometimes with the line of scrimmage. We'll do that when we get back. You're listening to KHTS 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. Welcome back to KHTS 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. I'm Rick Garcia. Andrew, you've been doing that. We've been interviewing Trenton Irwin for, 3 or 4 years now about his football camps. Same song. Every time.
You gotta stick with the classics.
It's got that 38 special flavor to it. Is it?
Yeah, there
right?
you go.
You young guys are going to have to look that up. 38 special. It's kind of country, kind of rock, kind of a thing. Trenton Irwin, who's a wide receiver in the NFL, Hart High School star, a Stanford grad as well. Played wide receiver in the NFL, is a free agent at this time, and hoping to catch on here soon with somebody. He's also hosting the Trenton Irwin football camp Saturday, March 8th at Hart High School from 10 to 1, featuring or inviting 5th through 8th grade boys and girls. Trenton, how can folks sign up for the camp?
So they can sign up at trentonirwin.org, or there's also a link in my bio on Instagram and a whole post about the information.
You said you have a sister who's playing football. Yeah?
Yes, she's 8th grader, going to Hart probably next year to start. And she's a monster.
Yeah?
She's having a ball.
It's flag football for girls.
Yep.
It's a blast watching them play football.
It really is. It's cool to see them go out there, have some fun, be able to play football. I've known a lot of girls that have played some tackle with me when I was young, or played, enjoyed playing flag football. But it's cool to see that, and you see some colleges picking up flag football for girls, and they might have, scholarships. They might have teams and incentives for that, and it's cool to support that and get to see them go out there and play.
Yeah, no, it's getting organized. Flag football for girls, which is I think going to be a blast. They did that when I was in high school 100 years ago, but it was done as kind of a joke, where there was one time a year where football players dressed up as cheerleaders, and cheerleaders put on the football gear and played flag football. We had to cheer for them while they.
I didn't know about. I knew they did powder puff in high school, but we didn't do the whole outfit. Series.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about it, because when you think about women's sports now, it's just crazy how successful.
Oh, it's taken off. I love it.
These female athletes are today. We were talking about your what it's like to be on an NFL field. It's tough enough as it is to get there, but then you got to be somewhat of a scientist to try to interpret the plays in the huddle, because they're just kind of a mixture of all this jargon that every team has a different language for. And we talked about how you come out of the huddle, you've got two plays sometimes. Quarterback gets to the line, and he changes the play, which is an audible.
Yeah.
Tell me what that's like.
Yeah, so, I mean, he can change it at any moment. You know, he can change it in between plays. He can change it while he's on there. It's usually he sees something. And, you know, I don't always see what he sees. You know, I'm over here I'm listening for the parts that I need to know. It is important to be able to look and be like, okay, why would he see this or what could come at this? A lot of times there's like a cover zero check. If they sort of show cover zero pretty early, he can get to something. And, I mean, it's huge to be on. I mean, the offense only works if you're on the same page as everyone. You know, if everyone's on the same page there. So, I mean, and if the quarterback trusts you, like, that ball could come. If he doesn't, some quarterbacks will legitimately just be like, you know, hey, he's a good player or not, but I don't trust him, so I don't even want him on the field. Like, they will tell the coach that. So it's a trust level. You know, you get out there an opportunity where a play gets called that's, you know, an audible, whether it be in practice or in game, like, that's a trust-building opportunity, you know, an opportunity to make a play that, you know, he go, okay, this is the next time that comes around, I'm ready to call it there.
But then the audibles have gotten goofy over the last couple of years. For example, I know there was a big deal made out of one year that when Jared Goff was still with the Rams, he gets to the line of scrimmage, and it was picked up during the game, during the broadcast. You could hear him yelling out, Halle Berry, which is my girlfriend. She doesn't know that, but she is my girlfriend. And it was somehow involved in changing the play. So some of these quarterbacks get a little goofy with their audibles, or
100%.
Is that
100%.
What's
I
the
mean,
purpose of that? Make the defense laugh, and then all of a sudden they're caught off guard when the ball snapped.
They try to have little cues that make you remember it in a different way. So, like, a lot of times, and this is unanimous with NFL, a lot of times anything like drawing, so like the Picasso or, you know, any painter, artist will be a draw play. So, like, that's like, you know, quarterback run,
I get it
draw.
now.
So, like, that is pretty universal in most offenses. Some sort of drawing, painting thing.
But if
famous
everybody
person.
knows that, then they know a draw's coming, don't they?
You're
on the other
right,
side
and
of
so
the-
then they start changing it if they recognize all that. You know, sometimes the defense isn't as smart to know that, you know, Picasso was an artist to be paint. You know, I don't know, it's what it is. I don't mean to hate, but there might be some guys, you know, Luke Kuechly's of the world that are like, oh, Picasso, watch the draw, and then that's where you get the film study, the next level of just preparedness to be able to be, you know, able to stop that. I mean, that's a huge advantage.
You left Stanford how long ago?
2019.
Okay, so 6 years ago-ish,
Yeah.
right? And they were, not legally paying players back then.
Right.
They can legally pay players
Yeah.
in college now. I don't know if Stanford is. I think everybody does now, right? They all have a budget and a
100%.
general manager. Right.
They're starting to have general managers, budget. It's a wild how it's, and there's not a whole bunch of structured, like, salary cap things that the NFL has. So, you know, I think Stanford hasn't really bought into the paying them that much.
Well, education first, but
Yes.
that was always the feeling about schools like Stanford, for
100%.
example, who had to compete with schools in their conference who, back when it wasn't legal, were allegedly paying players, right? And Stanford's like, hey, we don't care. We're not here to be a football school,
Right.
Even though there were some pretty darn good teams at Stanford eventually, right?
100%.
You played for who? Was it Shaw or
Shaw,
Harbaugh?
David
Okay,
Shaw.
David Shaw.
And my first year there, we were ranked third overall. Won the Rose Bowl there, beat Iowa at home over here in Pasadena, and I mean we were third in the nation to end the year.
With a bunch of smart guys.
With a bunch of smart guys, yeah. I mean it's cool to see. You know, you could pay for the flashiest team in the world, you know, but it's cool to see the other dynamics of, you know, team camaraderie or just connectedness or just some sort of passion, momentum. You know, I liked looking at Arizona State this year. You know, my boy is actually coaching there, Brady White, who is also a Hart grad, was my quarterback when I was there. Mm-hmm. But to see them go on the run they did, you know, they didn't pay and have the leverage that Alabama did, but they should have beat Texas, you know, in the playoffs there, and then they could have kept it going. But it was cool to see, shoot, you can pay for whatever you want, but you can still find momentum and like the camaraderie and all the little intangibles that end up making the team better than, on paper.
Yeah, but back when you were playing and they weren't paying players legally at the college level, and you saw a guy driving up in a Mercedes or, people were like, wait a minute, how did some guys weren't so subtle about the fact that they might be getting some money.
100%.
Yeah.
I know a lot of stories.
Are you glad they have budgets now, though?
I
Do you think it's a cool thing? Or
I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's not controlled great, but I do think it's cool. I mean, they bring a following to, a college. They make people want to go to it. They have a stadium where it's rocking, where there's 100,000. They should get some sort of reward, some sort of compensation for their efforts. I think it is cool.
I wonder if it'll create balance at the college level. The fact that every team now, all they got to do is find the local car dealer who's got the money. Who's going to pitch in to be, the old day boosters where, they
under the cover.
I've heard stories of the former sports journalist of players meeting for lunch or dinner at some place and the booster coming by and shaking hands. And next thing you know, there's a $100 bill on the table.
Oh, yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And then you probably have heard more stories like that.
Wild ones.
But I wonder if it might create some parity so that you're not just, where it's just not Alabama every year. That other teams are, wait a minute, I've got a budget too, so I can go get Trenton too. You think you've got a line on Trenton, I can pay him just as much or more.
No, there definitely will be that back and forth there of, I'll offer him this amount, where there's that sort of negotiation. I'm serious. I'm curious to see the salary cap situation, because if you got a school that can pay $10 million to its players or whatever, and you got a school that can play $500,000, sometimes you lose a little bit competitiveness in there. But that's why I argue the Arizona State theory. I think they're very willing to pay, but they definitely didn't have the leverage to be able to have that interest and still had a heck of a year
to do that. Well, let's stick with the business side of the sport. Some of your former teammates, and the market for wide receivers, much like the quarterback market, it's like a series of dominoes, and this affects people like yourself, who's a free agent.
Yeah.
Where's Debo going to wind up? What's going to happen with T? What about Cooper Kupp?
Right.
For the quarterbacks, everybody's waiting on Stafford.
Yeah.
Stafford re-signed, and now the dominoes are going to fall.
Yep.
What's your thinking on what you're seeing with some of the relocations? Like Debo Samuel's an incredible receiver. 49ers can't keep him.
Right.
There he goes off to the Commanders. Cooper Kupp is a Ram through and through.
Right.
He's going to leave probably. It looks like they're going to trade him. What's your feeling about the business part of that?
I feel like as a player, I like to keep the authenticity of the fun of the game alive, and sometimes that business part can have a foot in the door there, where you're like, okay, but there is a money side, there is a cutting side to it that hurts. But a lot of times also agents will use that as leverage. Okay, blah blah is getting paid $12 million a year. My guy put up X, Y, and Z that was better than blah blah. How can we give him 12? So that's also the negotiation business side to be able to set people up.
By the way, what team is Bloody Blah on? I don't know why I don't remember him. I'm going through my roster. I see your point, though. But so now with Debo going from San Francisco to the Commanders, your old teammate T. Higgins is being
franchise tag, right?
Franchise tag basically means that he's now going to get paid top of the market, but just for 1 year. So a team can keep their own player for another season. Doesn't always make the player happy.
Yeah.
He'll be $26 million. He'll be making, that'll be his salary. I don't know how unhappy you could be. But I get it, because football's a short-lived experience.
Right.
Players get hurt. You want to maximize the amount of money you can make. But this also has an effect on people like you.
Yeah.
You're waiting around to see where some of these other guys wind up. So how are you affected then as the dominoes start to fall with wide receivers?
Yeah, no, you definitely get more calls with, opportunity, interest, and whatnot. For me, it turns into a opportunity thing, and that turns for me into people. So, like, what type of people do I know there, opportunity-wise, that I can trust that, something's going to come about. And, you can have a certain group offer you a little bit more, a little bit less, but I think it's more of a, I know a lot of quarterbacks from working out down in SoCal there, and down in San Diego, Orange County area, and the biggest thing is opportunity. I think everyone will say that, and that comes with injuries oftentimes.
Sure.
That comes with, knowing people. That comes with being ready for when it comes, and you don't know when it is. That's the toughest thing is I always tell rookies coming in because I like to, be a good shoulder for them to lean on in situations, but you don't know when that opportunity is coming. That opportunity can come on a Friday in practice when they decide to put you in because someone got hurt. The opportunity could come, someone breaks a leg and the quarterback goes, you know what, that's our guy. You don't know when it's coming, but not being ready for it, I feel like your responsibility is to be ready for it whenever it does.
Well, and so you've already started getting ready, you told me. We just had the Super Bowl in February. And you started training pretty much before Kendrick Lamar got off the stage, right? I mean, or were you training during while he was on the stage?
Nah, so I going into year 7 here, I've developed my little system that I feel like I need to do. Right now it's more on the field speed training. It's more trying to build that base, trying to build that power, that strength to be able to, just when OTAs comes around in month and a half, 2 months, somewhere in there. And that's when, you'll learn the offense better, be able to have connections with quarterbacks. And that's more when I'll get into the skilled receiver work type of stuff to fine-tune that craft. And then from there, it's developing, that connection, and just being mentally ready for that.
I want to talk about that connection here in a second, but I want to remind everybody we're talking to Trenton Irwin, NFL player who will be hosting a football camp in Santa Clarita this Saturday from 10 to 1 for 5th through 8th grade boys and girls. You can go to trentonirwin.org, or you mentioned maybe they can go to Instagram.
It's in the bio, yep.
Instagram?
Yep.
In the bio, okay. Relationships, really important, right?
Oh, yeah.
Quarterback and wide receiver. Do quarterbacks play favorites in your opinion, or do they take what the defense gives them?
I think they totally play favorites.
Really?
Yeah, I think they have the people that they like, that they trust. I mean, it's at the end of the day, they throw a great ball, but it gets tipped and picked. That shows up on their stat line, and their, people judge them based off their stat line all the time. So I think, or if someone runs the wrong route, you see that all the time where a guy runs an out route and quarterback throws a slant and gets picked off by a guy. They're like, where was he throwing that? But half the time, or not more than half the time, it's the receiver's fault there. Yeah. So I think that ends up being a relationship, a trust that you develop over hours and hours of work, to be able to go, okay, I know what type of guy I'm working with, that he's going to be in this spot on this timing every time.
Did you bring Joe Burrow donuts every morning?
I did not, but if he wanted to work out, whatever the heck was on my schedule, I was there. It was, it was cleared. If I was sick, I was there. I was ibuprofen out there. It didn't matter. There's no sickness on this. He wants to work out.
You got your regular phone, and you got the bat phone, right?
The bat phone.
Batman calls.
We're working.
We're working. Well, relationships though, and it's interesting because, and I know I go back to the Rams a lot. We're a Southern California city. The Rams are the local team. Yep. I know we have Chargers too, but I go back again to relationships. Stafford and Cup. The word was they would have breakfast every morning.
Yeah.
They worked out morning, noon, and night. All of a sudden, this guy named Puka Nacua comes along. Nobody's ever heard of him, and now all of a sudden he's getting all the balls.
Yeah.
Partly because Cooper gets hurt.
Yep. Well,
next thing you know, Puka's the guy, and Cooper's going to be on his way out. It's just part of life, right? It's like the circle of life, like the Lion King sort of a thing. And quarterback may hang around for 20 seasons, right? And the wide receivers and the running backs are going to come and go.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's, tough thing is you look at Cooper Kupp, and he got paid $28-30 million, and to get injured and go for 400 yards, it doesn't correlate. That's the thing that, the higher your contract is, the more you do have to put out. That's what you got to put on the field. And, that's the harsh reality there is they went, okay, he's not worth the salary cap hit that he does. And we have a guy who we drafted in, I don't know what round, but who's performing at, if not better than him. So that they decided that's the best move to do. It's a cutthroat system, but that is sort of the game that they have to be able to fill out there. And, I bet you Stafford and Cup's relationship is still great. I bet they both understand the situation. Sure. But it is a, you develop that relationship through all those reps, through all that trust. Yeah. And sometimes it just goes.
The wide receiver, there's been an interesting evolution for, wide receivers come in all shapes and sizes, right? You got the little 5'9", the Tutu Atwells of the world. Mm-hmm. And nobody seemed to pay close attention to the 6'2" white dude who didn't run a 4.3, mm-hmm. right? 40. But then again, going back to the Cups, and Nakua is another example of a guy who was, I think, a 5th-round pick.
Yeah.
Out of BYU. Yeah. You're 6'2", 200. Why do I bring this up? Because you could have all the speed in the world. Yeah. You could have all the strength side. But they always talk about separation when it comes to wide receivers, right? So no matter how fast you are, no matter how smart you are, you got to separate. What does that mean?
Separation, I feel like you can get that in a plethora of ways. You can get that in size. You got your 6'4" guys who can jump out the gym. They're right next to you, but there's separation because they can jump higher than you. You got the speed guys. But I don't know. I feel like the cool thing about being a receiver is it's an art. It's the manipulation of the body to be able to lie. Like, I always joke around about lying with my feet. Like, to be able to make a guy feel like you're going a different way, to be able to have a false acceleration into a break, to be able to, just all that to me is the art of the game as a receiver that I love. And then separation is also understanding where you got to be and when you got to be there. Because if the quarterback trusts that you're going to be there and knows you're going to be there, he could be right on your back. But if you're at the right place at the right time, that's enough separation, So
the quarterback goes through something called a progression where he may I'm going to look at Andrew, I'm going to look down the line, I'm at number 2, and then, oh, shoot, none of those guys are available. I'm going to number 3. You better be there.
Amen.
Separation also means you're literally separating from the defensive back, right?
At the right time.
A lot of good receivers. I'd say everybody in the NFL is a good receiver if you ask me, right?
Yeah.
Right? They're great athletes, great players. But not all of them can separate away from the defensive back.
Not at all. And that's relative. These DBs are super smart. I feel like they are able to tell body language at an elite level, So then that becomes getting to know the person you're going against. Mm-hmm. What type of DB they are, what type of tendencies they have, what type of frame they have. Are they a big guy, long guy? Are they strong? Are they quick? Are they good out of their breaks? Are they good at being able to contest the ball and being able to shoot your hands there? What do they lack? And I think that's also how you create separation. I think that's the art of the game that I think I thoroughly enjoy. I enjoy training and running,
do you honestly enjoy training?
I do, because it's a tool.
It's
a tool. It's like you're like sharpening a little tool to be able to use into your art. It's like you don't want the crappy paintbrush over here to try to paint your little masterpiece.
Sure.
You got to appreciate the work that goes into creating that.
I used to tell my kid, I would tell, I was a typical soccer dad with my kids. All my kids played soccer. I wanted a football player, or a baseball player. I didn't get either. I had a bunch of soccer players, and I embraced it, and I loved it. But I would tell my friends who were, every parent was convinced their kid was going to be the next Messi or the next Mallory Swanson, or whoever you want to name. And I would say, listen, if your kids are not, because the athletes that I used to interview and be around, like the Kobe Bryants, when everybody else was on vacation, they were in the gym. Mm-hmm. And I would see him in the gym all the time. So I'd say if your kid's not in the backyard juggling a ball morning, noon, and night, and they're just not dying to get out there, but they love the games, they're not going to be professional athletes.
Yeah.
Because like you just said, you have to love the work that you put into it, right?
Right.
To like you said, hone the skills, sharpen the tools to make you a success. Yeah.
If you don't, no, it definitely. I think a lot of things come from a passion, a purpose. Whatever that may be in life, whatever that may be in, whatever that job is. But if it doesn't exist there and it's not some sort of dedication, and it just doesn't come out.
If you're listening to this and you have some kids who want to figure out if it's something maybe they want to do someday, or just have a lot of fun, you can go to the Trenton Irwin football camp Saturday, March 8th. This Saturday at Hart High School. It's from 10 to 1 for 5th through 8th grade boys and girls. We want to emphasize and girls. you can go to TrentonIrwin.org. Also, what you said on your bio, there's a profile for Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram in the bio, and there's a whole post about it.
Several former NFL or some current
Yes.
NFL guys are going to be out there coaching.
Probably 10 to 15.
And how much is it again?
$20. $20 for, we'll have shirts, burritos. Bengals are sending some
I
stuff.
hope you eat the burritos after.
Carolina afterwards, 100%.
Okay.
Carolina's sending some stuff. Got some bars, some drinks. It's a 10 to 1, so it'll be a fun experience overall, and I'm excited.
We're excited to have you, and thank you so much. It's been fun doing this for the last 4 years with you. I'll text you when you sign, and with a big congrats, and that's going to be a lot of fun when that happens. So, Trenton Irwin, thank you so much for joining us here at KHTS.
Thanks for having me again.
All right, thanks a lot. All right, 98.1 FM, 1220 AM KHTS. I'm Rick Garcia. Enjoy the rest of your day.